ochlu kachas. Similar to the first Mishnah. So when three people eat together, you can't separate. Same thing with four. You lose the zimun. But this we said before, we mentioned earlier in the Amud. Shisha nichlokim arasara. So, but once you can divide it up into two groups, 3 and 3, and still have a zimun, there's no problem with breaking it up. Vasara ein nichlokim. Now asara, you're saying baruch Elokeinu, so you have to keep that until you have two groups of 10. Shtei chaburos she'oichlis bebayis echod. So there's two chaburos in one place, one house. As long as they can see each other, we start from the zimun. This is the rule of royin. You have to see, so then you're considered eating together. This is again, assuming they are somewhat eating together also. That's besides the fact, but they also see each other. But if they're divided, if they can't see each other, if we have a lumazab nats, and then lumazab the two separate groups, and each do their own zimun. It's a different halacha. Wine, in order to for wine to be in proper condition to make the bracha, you need to add some water. That makes it drinkable. So then it's maybe too strong to drink. To realize it, you can make a bracha even if it's not quite yet the way it should be with the water, but you can still make a bracha. Okay, so it says in the Mishnah here, Rabbi Yisrael again, we're in the Mishnah, we just learned the Mishnah, Daf Nun Amud Aleph, and the Mishnah is very similar. We'll see in a second to the Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek. So more asked the Kasha, really. It says the same thing. It says, in our Mishnah here, it says in Daf Nun, 3 people that ate together, they must do zimun together. They're not allowed to leave, to separate, until they do zimun. My Kavash Malot, we learned this in the Mishnah previously. So you're obligated to zamein, so maybe you can't separate. Right? Kavash Malot, Rabbi Abba, Shmuel, Shoshvu Lechol Kachas. Vadayin lo ochlu, and the Shulchan. It tells us another chiddush. Once you sit down to eat, so if that was your intention, so then you must do zimun when you have to eat. You can't separate. Next part, we're going to take this out. I read it. Okay. He says, even though each one has his own separate bread, they're not eating together, it's one meal, no one's sharing the food, they still have to. So you have an interesting case. You have 3 different meals, and 3 people came from each of these chaburas, and each one is independently chayiv with zimun from his chaburas. So halacha is they also need to do zimun together. Something that they came, each one came from someplace with chayiv zimun. Now that's only if they didn't already precede them with zimun where they left. But once zimun is done in their group, they're already yotze zimun. Or the zimun, the obligation of zimun, I don't know if they were yotze, maybe he explains, the Rashi explains, let's say there were really 4 people, and this one guy left, he went to the shuk. and they did zimun already. The other three remaining did zimun. And now the one that left wants to do zimun, but he can't do zimun because it was his obligation of zimun is already gone. That's what it says. Of izmin alayu b'duchtayu. So it's a concept. Parach zimun minayu. The obligation of zimun already flew away. It dissipated. It's gone. Amar Rav, you know what I mean? It is not. Now we're gonna listen to some proof to this point. We have to prove it from a little bit of a original concept, which is going to prove a general concept that once dinim, the reason for the dinim go away, so the din goes away. We'll see that in the following in Hilchos Tumah. Mita shenigdava chetzia. So part of it was stolen, or it was lost. So you have this bed, which is a kli, which is mekabel tumah. Or whatever it is, it doesn't matter how it got divided up. It is now separate, two separate pieces. Each piece in itself cannot function as the kli. So the halacha is tahira. It is now loses its status of a kli, and being that it's not a kli, so there's no tumah. It's a broken kli. There's no tumah. The tumah goes away. Hichzirua, ikabelas tumah. But now, interesting, if you put it back, now it's Mekabel Tumah. Now, this is the punchline. Mikan ulahaba. The Gemara is B'dayim, Mikan labayin, l'mafreya, lo'yal, l'kevan, to palguye. So you see that it's not that the tumah remains dormant in the bed, and when you put it back, no, it's palguye parach l'tumah. The tumah flies away. Once the zimun is affected, and then they do the zimun. So, and my zimun, this person that left, he's part of that zimun bed. So his obligation zimun comes, is caused from that zimun, but part of zimun minayu, and therefore he cannot create a new group to do zimun. There are two chaburis. If they see each other, now then they can bench. Now it says Tana. This is another kula that we can use. Shamish b'neiim, shamish b'tztarafin. In other words, if shaila is, do we view this as one group eating or two groups eating? So the different ways we could use one of the ways that it can be considered one group if the same shamish, the same whatever he is, the host or the waiter really shamish, he's serving them is the one person, the same person. So in some way they're eating together, they're being served the same food, the same person is connected to them. So therefore, that's called zimun. They're considered one group because of that. It's like it's relevant. This same concept is applied in halacha, in tefillah also. So say you have the same chazan for two different people, 5 people here, 5 people there, they can't see each other. So it could be the chazan is able to be mitzaref them for minyan. In v'ochan al yayin, you have to add water. Tana bar yayin at shalos and tugan ma'im v'ochan lav b'ay priya gofen and the b'ay priya ate. It's not considered wine, it's just fruit until you add the water. That's the way you drink wine. That's the way ultimately wine should be used, should be served. So therefore, that's when you make the bracha b'ay priya gofen. If you're not immediately yadayim, now this is another halacha. You can use the wine for washing your hands. We'll see that means in a minute. Now we're going to go back and analyze. I'm sorry. Yeah, it means to say until you added the water, it can be used for other things. It can function also if you have an obligation to wash your hands. Wine, and that's all you have. Wine can be used. But once you put the water in the wine, because once you add the right amount of water, it now becomes a drinkable wine, and now becomes b'ay priya gofen, v'archal b'ay priya gofen. Also, you can't use it for any other purpose other than drinking. He says, no, it's not totally that. It's be'etzem wine, even without the water, and be'etzem also, therefore, it's also ein noitin himenu liyadayim. So Kamana Ozlachadam Shmuel. Now, there's a statement of Shmuel that says as follows. A person, obviously bread is to eat, but a person could use bread for other purposes. You can use this trachov. Meaning to say, you can use it to, we'll see whatever else you need to do with it. Kiman, kablazer. That's like a blazer. That's what Rose said. That same concept that you can use the wine. So you put the water in it. You can use it. You can use it to wash your hands. By the same token, so Shmuel would say based on Rabbi Eliezer that you can use bread for other purposes as well, even if it's not food purposes. She'ein mevorach alav ad she'ita teichel mayim. The akosha bracha needs a little water. My time, Rav Moshe. Be'inan mitzvah v'na mufchar. Because, when you bracha a mitzvah, you have to do the best way possible. So there, the Rabbanan agree. Now, why is it the Rabbanan say, Archelek, and they say you can use wine even if it doesn't have the water? Rabbanan, l'may chazi. Rabbi Chazi the Kuraiti. Chazi the Kuraiti. It's a drink. You can use it for this drink. Since it's still drinkable for food drink, so it's still called wine. You still make a boy pigaf without the water. There are four things that about bread. You can't put raw meat on bread. You don't place a cup right on top of the bread because it might spill and ruin it. Same thing, you might ruin it with the meat, you might ruin the bread. You have to be careful with the bread. And you don't put the plate. You don't use the bread to hold up the plate. These are the controversial other usages of pas. That's a machlokes. We said whether or not you're allowed to do it. So this price says you can't. So the story goes there, they were eating together. I said, come out tomorrow, reminding. So now they brought to them dates and pomegranates. Patuk the common Rav Ashi, used to know, and he threw it to. He took and he threw it to Rav Ashi. Amalei lo yisavon lamar lo Tanya. You don't hold. This is some meat. He threw him some meat, some cooked meat. Amalei lo yisavon lamar lo Tanya. You can't throw food. So I give a pass. That's bread. That's one of the halachas said about bread. I give a pass Tanya. For Tanya, you learned a different price. Just like you can't throw other food. Tanya, I'll be shein zorch is a pass. It depends. It depends on the following. So of course, if you're going to ruin the food, you cannot just throw the food. If that's going to be mekalkel the food, you can't waste food. But if the food will stay intact, so then there's no particular halacha exactly how you pass the food. You can also throw it, except for bread. They would. This is like an entertainment they would do, or it was like it was a siman toiv. They would pour wine. They would use wine just to pour it in these tubes or something in front of the chassan and kala. And they would, as they poured, the wine would get ruined in the end. They would pour it down the thing, and it would be like part of the shtick with the chassan kala. It's a siman toiv. The zokin with name koloyos for goyzim. They would also throw nuts. So again, here you see they could use food for other reasons. But bread, loaves of bread, rolls of bread, you cannot do because they're going to get ruined. Cool stuff.